Devin, what's your kind of view on the Second Amendment and sort of how the government should intervene or not intervene, and what if you had an ideal world, right? What would your policy be for that?
So, me personally, as a black man in America, I tend to like not want to have a gun, but I understand now that there are people that don't like us that have guns, so I'm going to protect me and my own. With that being said, I just personally feel that I don't need an assault rifle. I don't need AR-15s. I don't need any of that stuff. I feel like to me that's too much. That's too quote unquote military type gear, and I don't need that. So I, in an ideal world, I think that just pistols and a shotgun at the most, and a hunting rifle would be okay. But even then, that's still kind of that's a slippery slope. Um, but I understand that that's our right, and people feel very adamant about that right. But I feel like we've gone past the right to have it, and now it's like people are fetishizing it, if that makes sense. Like how some people are so adamant, like, oh, I got this, or they're posting on social media, and it's like, oh, I got this, that, and the third. It's like, I don't. If you have something to that you're saying to protect your household, I feel like you wouldn't want to show that to the world. Like if you are doing it just for the sole purpose of protection, then you don't want to advertise, hey, look, I've got this. I would just be like, what Teddy Roosevelt said, speak softly but carry a big stick.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all about that. I'm all about that. Actually, like, don't show your cards to the world. Like, hold them close to your chest. But I feel like once you go onto like posting and like talking about it and all that stuff, that's going on to a whole other world where that can lead to irresponsibility. You don't show off your groceries that you get in the house every day. So you shouldn't have to show off something that you absolutely need, that you feel like you absolutely need to make your house safe. You know?
Theo, you got a thinking face on.
Yeah, actually, I do. Devin got my attention, especially with the showing your groceries, showing what you got. Talk softly, walk around with a big stick. I get it. One of the things that I've done is I've gone out and I've attained a concealed carry license. Um, for me, being military, there was no extra training I had to do to prove that I was competent with a firearm. In the military, we have what's called weapons qualifications. And if you do something dumb at the range, you are immediately kicked out of the military. We call it negligent discharges. So if your gun goes off, your firearm goes off um, without being given the thumbs up to shoot down range, you're out. So the military has these tight reins on it's military personnel, active duty, reserves, whatever you may be. But for me personally, I take that now into my career field, you know, um, community college police department. So my role at the community college does not require me to have a firearm. And I enjoy that actually, because when I'm going up to interact with individuals, whether they are students, teachers, visitors, they may see a badge, but overall they don't see me as a threat because they don't see the firearm. Now, granted, I'm not going to toot my own horn, but I do not need a firearm to defend myself. Um, and that's just based on my training that I've gotten in the military, some of the things I've gotten to do. Um, but when it comes to the whole firearm thing, walking around with an AR-15 or whatever, and you got it strapped to your chest and walking around, America, yeah, okay, that's fine. I applaud you. But do you know what kind of message you're sending to people? Like, what about the young African-American, or not even just African-American? What about the young male or female minority that's walking down the street with their parents and they see you parading down the street with this big AR-15? They don't know what it is. They just know it hurts people, you know? And what's going through their mind? Okay, I see you with the gun. Now they turn around and there's a police officer just having a casual conversation with their parent, and they're hiding behind their parent because this police officer has a similar gun, and they know that gun hurts people. it's a lot. It's a psychological game, I guess you can say. A lot of people play with, showboating firearms. Yes, and then again, no. Most people do it. Most people don't. I have friends who own multiple firearms. I own multiple firearms. I don't have any rifles yet. I would like to own them because I'm trying to get the hunter's license and everything with that. But I believe in concealed carry permits because you have it for your defense, not to show off to people. No one needs to know you have one. There's no point in it. I mean, unless you're going out to do something illegal, and if you are, may God have mercy on your soul, because we have law enforcement for that reason. You don't need to take matters into your own hands. And Orange County, where I grew up, I live in Fredericksburg now, but Orange County, it was kind of depressing to me. We had the sheriff of Orange County Sheriff's Office, when the governor, almost a full year ago, came out and said, we're considering, disarming or making illegal the certain ownership of certain firearms. The sheriff said, hey, Orange County will be a, I forgot what he called it, a shelter county or something.
Like safe haven or something
safe
like that.
haven.
He said he
And he
wasn't
said-
going to enforce it.
Exactly. And he also said that he will deputize some of the constituents in the county to enforce his policy. And I was like, okay, that's a bit extreme coming from a law enforcement official. So, I'm just confused on the whole thing. I'm like, I don't get it. Like, you say it's for self-defense, but now you're like walking around, come mess with me, I dare you. It's like,
So where do you sit on the fence then, as far as how much government involvement should be in regulating what sort of gun you can or can't have?
ownership should be allowed. We already have processes in place to permit certain individuals who are competent enough with a firearm to own a firearm, but there are loopholes like the black market. You're going to have folks, gang violence. They're going to have guns regardless of whether you make laws or not. They're going to do whatever they want to do. Again, some Americans are going to do whatever they want to do. It's a lot deeper than just, okay, is there an easy fix to this? No, there's not an easy fix to this. You're going to have to work with people like the NRA. You're going to have to work with people like the ATF. You're going to have to work with a lot of folks, and you're going to have to use the power of influence and work with legislative officials to counteract a lot of these issues. It's not necessarily the fact that we have average citizens, toting guns and shooting people and stuff like that. No, it's the fact that on top of that, we can't find a fix on how to prevent the purchase and sale of certain firearms.
Definitely. Sana, do you have anything to jump in to add to that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there's a lot of issues around having a firearm in the home. So as well as the influence that you can have on others. So I think to Devin's point, yeah, I don't really understand. I don't own a firearm myself. I have no problem with people owning them. But I don't understand sort of the showboating and why, you need some of those military weapons. But there are statistics that show that if you are in a domestic dispute within your home and there is a firearm, the chances of some type of fatality involving the firearm increases by 40%. So, I mean, do with that information as you may, but it is just a known statistic that if there is a firearm in your home, the chances of something happening does just drastically increase. So I've also heard the other argument from the right that's more around, we don't want people to have any type of sort of mental capacity influences around owning a firearm because it's a slippery slope. And I agree with that. I mean, that could mean a lot of things, and that means that there's also just a ton more regulation. But I think an easy sort of start would be to get rid of some of the firearms that, and I also don't know that much about this topic, but like Devin mentioned, just it seems a little bit unnecessary beyond protection and hunting to have some of those firearms just readily available. So even though you may be able to get them on the black market, I know it's pretty easy to get now. You can go to gun shows. There's not really a long turnaround time. I think there needs to be some type of enforcement. And unfortunately, I don't think the NRA is that willing to make any budges. I've never seen them really willingly work on any type of enforcement around it because that's harmful for their business. So that's just my personal stance. Again, I don't have any issues with people owning firearms. It's just there should be regulation. I think at this point, we're not really going to agree on what that is.
Will?
Yeah, I would say the big thing for owning firearms, and especially in our country, would just be, I guess, accountability and, you know, as your own person, as an individual. Like, how are you perceiving yourself as a, you know, a person that has a gun in our country? So I think one of the big things for me is, you know, I think we need to be have a lot more stricter laws on background checks and have, I guess, psychological checks too as well, just to kind of, you know, check the mental state of a lot of people that have the guns. And I just think hold the, you know, average American law-abiding citizen accountable for, you know, what weapon they have, either maybe an AR or a pistol, whatever. And I also want to piggyback off of, you know, Devin and what Theo said, that you don't have to be flaunting your guns all over social media. Like, there's no need for that. If you're there for like, oh, I have it for my protection, it's my right, that's fine, that's cool. But you don't have to post, you know, every single AR you buy every month, you know, based off whatever you get is going to be, you know, the main event on your, you know, social media page. Like, to be honest, I don't really think anyone cares to see that they have guns. I mean, other, you know, law-abiding citizens that have guns, but, oh, cool, you got a new gun. That's cool. But not everyone's going to be like, okay, this person has a gun. Cool. But, yeah, I think another thing, I don't know if you guys heard about the story about the Parkland shooting. The individual, I guess the kid that had got the gun and started, you know, went to school and started firing, he had made a comment on YouTube, like, I guess like a couple years prior, and said that he was going to be, quote unquote, a school shooter. And I guess the FBI had flagged him down and they never pursued, you know, stuff after that. So, I mean, I think it's also accountable on law enforcement to kind of crack down on some of these individuals that are just kind of, you know, getting away with some of this stuff, or they get flagged, or, you know, they don't get questioned further or investigated further. So you kind of could prevent, you know, another school shooting. So I think it's kind of, you know, it balances on, you know, quote, accountability on both sides. So, I mean, if you have a gun and it's for your protection, then make it that. Don't flaunt it. Don't, you know, you don't have to walk around with an AR walking down the street just to prove a point. Like, we get it. You have a gun, you have a right, but you don't need to walk around and make it seem like, you know, oh, this person up to no good, he has a gun, like, I'm kind of scared. You're going to put off, you know, this idea that, you know, I maybe get hurt. He may shoot people. I don't know. He's a person walking down the street. So I think, in my opinion, you need to be really responsible when you own a firearm. Because I have a shotgun, I have a rifle. I never use it. I mean, it's up in the closet when I need to use it for my protection. Sometimes I'll go hunting with a friend, and that's the only time I use it. But other than that, like, I don't post anything on social media. I don't, you know, say, oh, I have a gun. I don't flaunt it in front of everybody. Then I think another thing would be this: hold the perpetrators accountable. Like, the people that are, you know, buying guns in the black market and getting caught, then, you know, they go into jail and they get released again. Then they go do the same thing. They're dealing guns or buying weapons and committing the same crimes. I think that we need to start holding the perpetrators accountable. And
Definitely.
also, you know, law enforcement and, you know, just the typical, you know, average American law-abiding citizen that has a firearm. There needs to be bipartisanship in a lot of these issues, and it needs to be done fast, because it can go one way or another, you know, really fast. It can end up being bad. So
Definitely. I hear